everybody downloaded our album. Everybody downloaded it. And so like our sound scans, which were at the time super important metric, were like way lower than everyone expected. That record, like not coming out the minute it was finished, it cut the legs out from under us from that point forward.
Welcome, everyone, to This Was The Scene, the podcast that takes a look back at the late 90s, early 2000 punk scene. I am your host, Mike Doyle. Before we start, if you want to help out the podcast, you can donate $1 a month through my Patreon at patreon.com/thiswasthescene. It's just for the cool kids. So if you want to be part of the cool kids club, you should go and do that. And it really does help with just all the incidentals of this thing and all the many, many, many hours it takes me to do this shit. Emanuel started out as Emanuel Nice in December 1998. They kept that moniker until 2004, where they decided to drop the Nice but keep the original lineup while updating their sound, which would get them signed to Vagrant Records. They released their first album, Soundtrack to a Headrush, which fucking slaps, in March 2005 on Vagrant, and toured extensively with bands like Jimmy Eat World, 30 Seconds to Mars, Aiden, Keating, From Autumn to Ashes, The Bled, My American Heart, Lorene Drive, Moneen, The Audition, and many more. We're going to talk about this in the interview, but my old band Lanemeyer played a bunch of shows with Emanuel Nice when we would go through Indiana or Louisville when we were on tour way back in the day. And I've talked about these guys in many interviews, but they were just these little dudes that just fucking rocked. It wasn't until later on where Soundtrack to a Headrush came out, and I was like, these guys are fucking amazing. That album is so great. If you have a chance to listen to that record after you listen to this interview, I highly suggest you do that because it's so fucking good, and the sound quality, the songs, the hooks, it's so good, and just crank it, and you won't be disappointed. I haven't talked to these guys in forever. The last time I saw them was in Lake Hiawatha, New Jersey in like 2005 or 6. I think it was like 6. And they stayed with me, which we'll talk about in the interview. And that's it. And I haven't talked to them since. And then Matt just randomly happened to hear the Strider interview and just followed up to say what's up. And I was like, you should definitely be on this. And so he was like, fuck yeah, dude, let's do it. So I got him on the Skype, and this is what we talk about. Starting the band off as Emanuel Nice, the Louisville music scene, or Louisville, connecting with Yvange from Faded Booking, their song Make Tonight, Brian's bass sound on the record, getting courted by record labels, how they signed a Vagrant, their crazy sponsorships, how their record getting leaked completely fucked them, their tour with the Suicide Girls, how big did Vagrant think they were actually going to be, the band Recover, Black Earth Tiger, getting over addiction, and a ton more. The only thing I want to say before we start is I got a couple 2 packs of stickers left. It's $2 for 2 stickers. They're like 3 inches tall by about like 1.5 inches wide. It's basically the state of New Jersey, which obviously, if you're not from New Jersey, you probably don't give a shit about these stickers. But you can PayPal thiswasthescene@gmail.com, or you can Venmo _Mike Doyle if you want to get some. I've got like I think 10 packs left, or 10 pairs left, whatever. So you should do that. That'd be awesome. And if you want to check out my animation company, it's drive80.com. I do, or drive80.com. I do explainer videos. I do Instagram stickers, logo animations. And yeah, so if you are a company that has a hard time explaining what you do, then you should get one of these explainer videos. And if you're a realtor and you want to get custom Instagram stickers of like your face, then reach out to me. Just go to drive80.com, or you can email Mike at drive80.com, and that'd be great. Feel free to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with anyone who loves some punk rock nostalgia. With that said, let's get started. You guys have come up a bunch, and I've talked about when we play. I don't know who I was talking to, but I was talking about like Louisville, and I think I've talked to Chris and Sean from Lanemeyer, and I think we were talking about you guys, because every time we would go out to Kentucky or Indiana, you guys would be playing there, or that arcade in Louisville.
Yeah, Pandemonium, it was called.
That was it. That fucking place was awesome.
It was a really cool venue. Louisville, as we say it, Louisville, all like one syllable.
Yeah.
It was really blessed at that time to have a really great music scene, because since yesterday, I discovered your podcast yesterday, so this has all came about very quickly. But I blew through a bunch of episodes, like kind of listening to parts, and it made me think like you guys were all in this like New Jersey scene, and there are so many bands from there, and like makes me feel like we were kind of on this island. We managed to be like loosely connected, and there's like a crazy thread of humble beginnings that goes through your podcast, and it's crazy because we were kind of like helped out a lot by Gabe, and so like we're kind of attached to that tendril too, even though we're from across the country. But yeah, you guys would come through there. I think you guys actually played our first really awesome show, like the show that made us be like, oh yeah, we should keep doing this.
Was that at the quad, that warehouse thing?
At the Quadrangle, yeah, an old U.S. Army surplus dump,
Yes.
which has totally been like gentrified and made to this nice office place today. But back then, it was just like an abandoned warehouse.
Yeah, I remember that show because at some point, I think that was the first. I don't know if that was the first time we had played that. I mean, we did play around Purdue the first tour, but when we played that show, I don't know what it was, but there was when we were playing, someone took like a mattress and they were like crowd surfing the mattress. I just remember this for some fucking
My
weird
God, I do
reason.
remember that actually. That's God. Some of this stuff feels like a lifetime ago to me. I'm not kidding.
That's awesome. Yeah, man. You're gonna. I've said this to so many people. There's your brain is just gonna just find these random things that you've buried down or just forgot about, and just through conversation, you'll be like, "Holy shit!" And then everyone I've talked to because a lot of people I've talked to, they're like, "Man, I don't remember anything about that." And I'm like, "Trust me, you're gonna start remembering." And then afterwards, they'll message me like, I am remembering so much shit now, and I'm going on this like journey through Spotify and looking at old photos and stuff, and they're like, "This is wild."
I believe it because that's what I've been doing for the past 24 hours. Like it's been pretty crazy for me.
Well, how did you? So you were having a conversation, you said, with your girlfriend and your stepson?
Yeah, I was dropping them off at work, and we were talking about a news story about this band called the Linda Lindas, which is some young girls. And I looked them up, and it's like pretty old school punk feeling stuff. And I listened to the track, and I was just like, I don't know, I want to listen to more of this because I haven't really listened to anything like this in quite a while, honestly. And I listened to Lagwagon, and then for some reason I thought of the Strider and searched for them, and I saw your podcast and listened to it and realized who you were, and I was just like, oh, I got to do this.
That's so crazy. How the hell did you connect the dots between Lagwagon and the Strider?
I really don't know. I don't know what made me do that. It's a mystery to me, but
That's awesome. I love that conversation with Scotty. Like we talked maybe once back in the day when we played a show together, but that was one of my favorite things to like listen back to. I mean, I love all these, but that was a lot of people reached out about that one. They're like, "Holy shit, that he had such great stories." I was like, "Yeah, he had fucking awesome stories."
Scotty was such a nice dude back in the day, and my memories, especially from a certain period, like with you guys and the Strider, like we were really young, 15 and 16, and there were some bands like you guys and them who were like really kind to us, and I think part of it because like we were like a novelty, we were so young, but they treated us really well, and it really made us, it's just one of the things that made us want to keep going, and you guys and them were always really cool to us, and it definitely had an effect on us.
That's awesome, dude. I mean, I still have the split 7-inch we did. It's like sitting right in front of me in this stack of vinyl.
I wish I did. I wish I did. I didn't have the good sense to hang on to a lot of stuff to the point where, as weird as this is, last week I actually found an Emmanuel T-shirt on eBay and ordered it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm wearing it right now. Like I didn't save anything. It was really stupid.
Well, you mentioned that too. So the way I structure this, I go back and kind of talk about how you got involved in the scene and leads up to you guys. Usually depending on who I'm talking to, if it's a band, it's about how they broke up or they dissolved or if they didn't break up. And so that's the structure. But sometimes I jump around. You had mentioned in the message that you're like, I haven't even thought about us in a long time. And I remember when you guys broke up because I think that was around the time MySpace was still a thing.
I think our last show was 2007. I think.
Okay, so then I think that's where Facebook started to get bigger or be more mainstream, I think. And I think I was talking to Matt a bunch. Not Matt, I'm sorry. No, I was talking to my God, guitar player. Guitar player Matt.
Guitar player. Yeah, I'm Matt, and there's another
Yeah,
Matt.
you're Matt 2 T's, he was Matt 1 T.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, Matt Barber. So I remember like talking to him a couple times. I think this was also around when your last release came out. I don't know
Yeah.
why, or
It all
yeah.
happened pretty quick.
Yeah, because the last time I actually, and I'm gonna have you, you're gonna talk way more than me, but I remember the last time I physically was in the same room as you guys, is you guys played either it was Obsessions in New Jersey.
Oh my God, I that place is something else. Yeah,
Yeah, and you guys, because that's when you became a five piece, or around that time you became a five piece, and you just became a standalone singer. And
correct.
I remember I was, yeah, no, you guys fucking stayed with me. You stayed with me in my
So
small apartment in Jersey.
I, I thought so. Yeah,
Yeah, holy shit, that
that
first
Obsessions
time
place was
there.
really interesting. There's so many clubs that we toured from back then that are just like, I, I don't know, man. I think people really missed out on the heyday of not like these super nice entertainment venues that bands play at today, but just like holes in the walls. That was part of the vibe.
The whole timeline of this podcast is like the late 90s and the early 2000s. So you guys basically started when you dropped the Nice part of the name in 2004, 2006. When was that?
Yeah, I think about it's 2000 and we graduated in 2002, so about 2004 we dropped the Nice from Emmanuel Nice and just became Emmanuel and kind of went from playing in Louisville, Kentucky or Jeffersonville, Indiana to starting a tour and stuff like that.
All right, so let's go back because this is where it makes sense because you guys, we played with you guys in the late 90s, and so 98 you guys form. And so talk about how that came about and then talk about like how you guys got involved in the scene in Louisville.
Brian and I, Brian, the bass player, we were in a band together. We went to high school together, and we were playing music together. And it was, I don't know, it wasn't like a Blink 182 cover band, but it probably was, maybe by accident. And we left that band, and we wanted to play more music. And he knew a dude that he played soccer with, Anthony, the drummer, because I mean that's how young we are. We're like, Brian goes to like soccer camp with this kid, and we actually just planned to meet up, and we met them at an amusement park, again illustrating like we're babies. And so we met Anthony and Matt, and they were in a band together. I think they did like mostly like blues covers and Jimi Hendrix covers. They didn't really have any interest in punk music. We got together, and I think we like learned a No Effects cover our first day practicing at Anthony's mom's house. And the cops came on our first time practicing ever. They came upstairs and were like, "Oh, that rocks, guys, but you gotta chill out." And that kind of set the tone too for us, I think, going forward.
You guys were kind of like this little badass band too. I felt even when we met you guys, we're like, "What are up?" I was like, "I love these." I was it's kids. I was like, "I love these kids." They're like just like little like firecrackers. You guys were just like crazy. You guys were fucking nuts.
We had this chemistry. It's like we were just like four dorky dudes, but like something about being together, and we just brought out like all the best and the worst in each other. And yeah, it kind of it painted the picture for us going forward. Like we always kind of chase that. Let's be as loud as we can. Let's be as bad as we can. Let's just do it.
Yeah, it definitely came across every time, especially when you guys became a manual, which I'm definitely gonna talk a lot about later because I loved that first record a lot. I actually just found it. I found an old CD case from back in the day, like the CD booklets, and your CDs in it. And I was driving around in my Jeep a couple months ago, and I found it. I just put it in and started cranking it. I was like, "Fuck, I forgot about this CD. It's so great."
It's still fucking bangs. It definitely still bangs, man. It sounds good and the songs are really good. I'm really proud of that. That's the one thing I got going for me, I guess, is that I'm still really proud of the stuff that we made.
Yeah, man. I mean, I remember with Matt Barber, we was there was a party. I'm kind of jumping around, but there was a party that Barker had from Lane Mara at his house, and you guys showed up. You had played. I forget how you guys got to this party, and I know it's been talked about in other interviews, but I just forget. And Matt came up to me and he was like, "Hey man, we just our new CD just came out. You should check it out." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." It was like one of those where people, it's like you're friends with people and they like tell you about something. You're like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I was just like, "All right, that's cool." And then I think then at the party they started playing it over Chris's speakers, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And then I just like took it and started listening to it afterwards, and I was like, when the fuck did I was like, how the fuck did these guys make this? Not like saying you were a shitty band, but I was just like, I never, I guess like when we play shows together, I never like, that sound wasn't the thing. And I heard that I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, we had been writing like, all these songs that were like in the emo kind of influenced area, and we'd gone through a couple of different like iterations of what our band was going to sound like. And then when we graduated school, man, me and Anthony kind of came. I mean, everyone contributed, but me and Anthony would sit at my Grammy's house. She had like early stage Alzheimer's and like hearing problems, but was super cool and just let us jam all night long. So Anthony and I would just like get high and drink and play music until 4 in the morning, like every single night. And we kind of just like honed this wild child sound out of, I don't know, man. I think like part of it comes from my mom being like a Van Halen fan in the 80s, and like it's just like this latent subconscious Van Halen influence that I was never really into Van Halen myself, but I think it kind of came through somehow.
I thought it was more of like a southern rock, like
Definitely some southern rock vibes to it for sure.
yeah.
And I swear it's like, but it's none of the music we were into. I think it just like came through the medium because of who we were and where we come from. We honed that sound, and it did. I mean, it. We started seeing results from it pretty quickly. We made a little 3 song demo.
Well, don't jump into that yet. I want to go back to the days before this though. So let's go back into you guys being Emmanuel Nice and
Sure.
like how did you guys like do you remember your first show and like if you do, like how'd you get on it and what do you remember about it?
Yeah, our first show, I think, like you'll have to take this with a grain of salt, but I'm pretty sure it's true. We had a couple local bands in the area who were a few years older than us because, like I said, we were like 14. Guys named Left Out and another band named the Linwoods. And those guys were like seniors in high school and we're like freshmen. We thought they were the coolest kids in the world. We ended up getting on a show with them, and it's like the classic late 90s first show thing. It's at a coffee house in this mall in southern Indiana.
That's awesome.
And we played out. I think we closed with "You Gotta Fight for Your Right to Party" by the Beastie Boys. Yeah, it was awesome, but like I said, like in the beginning, man, to these older guys, we were totally like a novelty. We're like Hanson. That in the hometown, we had to fight with that for a long time going forward, man. I mean,
What do you mean?
like even after we started getting some bit of success, like there were older dudes who had been playing in the punk scene since the early 90s and just would never like us. It would be like totally uncool to have dug us.
Like the early version of you or like the when you guys later on when you got signed to Vagrant?
Both, yeah, no. I mean both. There was some people who we were never going to change because they knew us when we were 14 and that was all we could ever be.
You had mentioned that the first you think like the one of the first big shows was that one in the quad. So like how many shows or how long have you guys been together before you had played that show?
I think when we were around 15 years old, we were practicing every single day at Anthony's house, and we were probably doing a show like once every 2 weeks. You know, lots of times they were in this coffee house in the mall. Sometimes they were in the Sound Stick, and maybe once or twice we'd venture over to Louisville, but mostly it was like, yeah, like once every 2 weeks, playing people's parties, stuff like that. Just really kind of honing the craft and getting a little bit of local fans to show up and start knowing who we were. And I think the first thing, like I think that quadrangle show was also the first night that Adam White, who owned
Yes.
like a
White House
local,
Records.
yeah, White House Records. I think he maybe was there that night, and that's when we like started talking to him about recording an actual CD.
So what was your guys like? Actually, no, before that, what was the scene? Because when we showed up, we loved it. It was
Yeah,
always, it kind of reminded me of there was a couple hot spots around the states that always had the kids would show up and they just would eat it up. It'd be like for us, it'd be Sarasota, Florida, Chicago, any Northern Illinois show, Massachusetts, California always kind of sucked for some
it
reason.
did.
Yeah, they were kind
Yeah,
of pretentious with their shit.
unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, so like, was it that cool for you guys, or was that did people just eat up bands when they're out of town and kind of dismiss the local bands?
Yeah, there's a little bit of both. I mean, there were darlings locally, but yeah, there was a big music scene, and Louisville's music scene had always been kind of, I don't want to say pretentious because a lot of it's really great music, but a lot of it had been like kind of the bleeding edge of culture and art, you know, like Sloan, some hardcore bands. I think that there were a lot of music fans, especially over in southern Indiana. These kids were in high school or middle school even, and were too young to cross the bridge, but still were wanting to do stuff and see bands play. And so yeah, I think when out of town bands like you guys would come in, people would go they would go nuts, man.
That's right. There was a venue when we were playing with Lounge. There was a venue that had like a sunken floor, so the band would play below everyone. Was that Louisville?
It's not ringing a bell, but that's not to say that because again, I was one of those kids too who was like too young to cross the bridge for a lot of the time.
Oh, okay. So, oh yeah, because you said bridge, and I remember when we were like hanging out, there was just a bunch of bridges around. I haven't been to Louisville and since like fucking 2000, or yeah, since like
Yeah,
2000, I think.
yeah, it's one of those cities where it's if you had to make a comparison, it'd be like New York and Jersey City. Like they're kind of the same place. If you're on the small side, you think it's the same place, but if you're on the big side, you definitely don't think it's the same place.
So the one thing I remember is that when you guys played, the girls would go nuts for you guys, and that was one thing that stood out to me. Like, what the hell was that about?
Yeah,
Not saying you guys are like cute kids and like, you guys are good looking dudes, but like then too, like holy shit, like there's all the girls would just be right in the front row, like screaming when you guys
yeah,
played.
we totally had that. We had that effect. We had some of that miniature Beatlemania going on in our hometown with the girls, and I think we all had girlfriends, and we'd all get their friends to come, and I don't know. I think it's at the heart of it. I mean, how many of us like pick up our instrument because we're like a dorky kid and we're like, this is gonna make chicks like me.
Fuck yeah. That was
And we just pursued that all the way. That's I think we I think we judged ourselves sometimes. This like how many girls are coming to the concert? Like how cool are we? Because God knows we just wanted to be cool, man. And so
Well, did that like kind of have an effect on you and plant a seed early on and give you, because you guys always felt like you like super confident dudes. So did you at a young age did that kind of go to your head a little bit?
I think it's yeah, I think so. But like I've always been, and I always was back then, like this total internal contradiction of I'm like a really shy person, but then I go on stage and pretend like I'm not. It's like it was like a release for me because yeah, I mean it's if I had never picked up a guitar, I'd probably be like an accountant today. Not that there's anything wrong with accounting, right? But I wouldn't be who I am today.
You were pretty much doing this all through high school. So you had like, was it 3 years or 4 years of high school when you guys playing
Four
as
years
Manual
of high
Nice?
school, yeah, 4 years of high school, and we were
Wow.
doing it like a full time, like a full time job on top of school. Yeah.
So you say when you graduated high school, you guys went and changed and dropped the Nice, or is it you graduated college?
High school. No, I never went to college, and I don't know that anybody else in the band did either.
All right, so talk about that. Did you guys like at what point in the 4 years before you drop the Nice part, you guys, at what point did you guys like have a conversation and say, we want to do something with this? Like, what do you guys think? And then you guys, what was that conversation like?
I remember in high school, a couple of us, like our senior year, a couple of our parents were kind of like pressuring us to get serious and go to college, and God bless them for trying. But we all were like, no, we're not going to do that. We kind of had this pact. I mean, I don't have any brothers, but at this time, I mean, we were like legit brothers. We spent every waking and sleeping moment with each other. It just kind of had this pact that we're all going to go for it together. Yeah, we played all throughout high school, and then that summer after we graduated, we really started like really working hard on trying to write some tunes that were something bigger than Emanuel Nice and something that we thought would take us to the next level. That's shortly after there is when we dropped the Nice remnant.
That's like there's so many at all the bands that I talk to. There's either, and I say this all the time. There's either the bands that played for a couple of years and they had local success, and that was it. And then bands who had local success and then toured and had a little bit of that and then stopped. And then some bands that just fucking skyrocketed from the beginning, like Newfound Glory. And then you start in the local scene. You're the same band but different. It's the same guys. You have the same name, and then you just drop a piece and then just change your sound and just fucking go and just rock it as you're going over that hump or had gone over that hump of the late 90s, like the early 2000s into the little bit, just a little bit later, earlier 2000s. So you guys transitioned and it worked for you.
There never could have been like another. The four of us, like there was no changing the lineup. There was no changing like the name in entirety. Like we were all super invested in this thing, this gang, this group of people that we were, and it was by far the most important things in our life. And I think that's one of the reasons, we didn't change it, and I think that's one of the reasons that we got as far as we did.
You guys spent 4 years. You're playing in the Louisville scene. At any point in that time before we kind of break into how going into Manual and then to Vagrant and all that crazy shit, had you guys toured at all as Emanuel Nice?
We did a couple little, I don't like one or two offs when we were really young, like 16 or 17, and we're Emanuel Nice at this point. My first car ever was for the band. And so my first car ever was a whatever 14 passenger neon green Econoline van that I got when I was 16. We tied a cow skull to the front of it, put a couch in the back of it. We did a couple of like one-offs, like Midtown came and played in our town. They were awesome. They blew us away, and we had a positive effect on them. We stayed in touch with Gabe, and he like remembered us, and he would kind of get in touch with us. We booked a couple shows to go with them to Chicago, and we tried, and our van broke down on the way there. That didn't work out, but we did a couple shows in Cincinnati, and maybe I think one in Paducah, Kentucky, which was weird, but
Why? Oh, was that weird?
it's just a special place, man. I mean, it's just I live in Lexington, Kentucky now, and I love it. But there are towns in Kentucky, like some of the dudes from the local Jeffersonville scene had been from Paducah, and we played at this like American Legion Hall, and it's just a mixture of these punk kids and like straight from off the farm kids.
Yeah.
And like the next morning, we went and got breakfast, and like the town's breakfast joint is called Skinheads.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And like even at the time, I'm like, this is weird. Like I'm uncomfortable with this. Like that's just the culture in this town. So we did a couple little podunk town shows like that, but no, we had never really done any major touring until after we graduated.
What's funny when you said you're talking about this, and this is just a random thought of mine. Did you ever see I forget which, I think it was the Fat comp, the video comp where Lagwagon they have a video I think for Razorburn, and they're torn. It's just all footage, and then there's those two hick guys in the gas
Yes.
station. I just thought of the two of them.
Yeah, dude. I mean, we saw stuff like that. I'm sure you guys saw stuff like that too.
Probably. You guys saw way more cool shit than we did. You guys sort of you guys had way more of an experience. We definitely want to talk about because you guys were on the road for a long time and toured with fucking. I mean, one of the bands you toured with. We're gonna jump forward for a second, but like Jimmy Eat World, you guys toured with them at one point, right?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna talk about that shit. This is I remember Matt telling me about this, and I was like, "What the fuck?" But all right. So you guys, why didn't you just change the name completely? Because you didn't really keep any of the songs when you changed over to manual, did you?
No, we didn't keep any of the songs. I don't know, man. I think it felt it had grown too personal to us. Like it was part of our identity. And I say that as not that we were a part of the band's identity, but the band had became part of our identity. Like a fucking badge of honor. To us it was more than a band. And that might sound like trite or whatever, but it was like it was our clique of friends, it was our hobby, it was our whatever. And so, yeah, we just couldn't bring I think I wanted to. I think I was like, this is a confusing name, and the other guys were like so attached to it that I just was like, fuck it, we'll just roll with it.
I felt it was such a transition where you guys went from almost metaphorically, it went from a little kid band to like an adult band, and just by dropping the nice, that transition helped, but it like showed that morphing into that. By keeping that, I felt that it totally worked because once you see the name and then you hear like the sound, it made sense.
Yeah, and looking back on it now, that's totally true. Like it was just this visible part of this metamorphosism that was going on with our sound and our style. And yeah, I mean it all happened at the same time. We really like almost basically went from being one band to a different band.
I'm guessing I know the answer to this question, but when you think back in that time, because there's what's the word? Two chapters of the band. There's the beginning chapter when you guys are growing up in high school and kind of figuring out your sound, and then there's the second chapter when you're on a giant label, you're doing these whole tours. So I'm thinking that any memories that you have are most likely just living from 2002 on, 2002, 2004 on.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty fair. Yeah, a lot, just like anybody else. I mean, my high school for some reason is like pretty blurry. I get bits and pieces, but But yeah, most of the awesome stuff happened from 2002 forward.
2002 forward, you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go there. I want to just vicariously live through this world of the shit that you guys just the shows and things like that. So you guys changed the name. How the fuck did you go from that and then just getting on Vagrant? You said you did like a three-song demo or something. Like what you
Yeah.
talked about it earlier. So now let's go in that direction.
So we did this 3 song demo. We had written these songs and we were blessed with having Matt, our lead guitarist. He was a gear dude. Most bands' demos sound shitty. It doesn't lend itself to the listening experience, but we had decent songs, and Matt was able to record us and make us sound awesome. So we were doing these local shows and kind of having some success, and Matt and Brian sent this off to Gabe from Midtown or Humble Beginnings and Cobra Starship, and I think he passed it along to Avange at Feta Booking, because I mean that to us, like, before we could get signed, like, we needed a booking agent so we could go out and get some exposure. I think we had sent it to her before, but we just like got lost in the stack, and Gabe passed it on to us, and she picked us up and started booking us some shows and kind of acting as our manager in like a stand-in capacity at the time. So we started doing small tours. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think who our first tour was with, but honestly, I don't remember.
We'll talk about that for a second. So you guys go from none of that to all of that, and it's like it was probably a slow build that almost feels like it had a hockey stick effect from that, and then getting on Vagrant, which we'll get into, and then doing these giant tours and things like that. So, but I mean, did you guys did you for a minute when this is all starting to happen, did you just think like, what the fuck, like this, like what was that? What did that feel like?
So it at the time, honestly, still uncertain, but like we didn't give a fuck. We were just having fun. We were playing shows was just a an outlet for us to go have fun and do our thing. And we didn't love anything more than at the time. So we were doing these small tours, couple weekends, just every single night. I mean, crashing at people's houses, having a good time. It wasn't until, yeah, no, when Avanch picked us up, that was a big deal. Because I remember at the time there were like a lot of cool bands on Feta Booking, or like Saves the Day had been on Feta Booking at one point. And so when we got booked by them, like, we were like, okay, something's happening. This is kind of looking up. And then finally, when Avange got Rich from Vagrant to come see us in Pennsylvania, that's when things kind of really got super real for us.
Did you guys have any backlash from the local scene when you changed your name and this started going this different direction?
No, I don't think so, because we had been through so many iterations at this point. Like, we never changed the name before, but we would change our sound like every 2 weeks. Like, we were just always trying to find what worked for us.
I love that, man. I think a lot of people would shy away once their sound what like any kind of evolving. People are like, yeah, but so many people are used to this. And you're like, really, if you do the numbers, it's not a lot of people that you just think. And so people are afraid to kind of evolve to get to that spot. So like, why weren't you guys afraid of that?
I mean, that was like our blessing and our curse. Like, we always were out to have fun and to make music that excited us, no matter what anybody else thought it. And we happened to get lucky with it, but it was always about ourselves.
That's so dope. I mean, it just totally worked out. So you guys, all right. So then Rich comes to see you, and then how soon after that, like, did things start going on in that direction?
So, like, I think like Rich came to see us, and that was fucking cool. Here's the owner of Vagrant Records flew to see us. We started the process of making this record, essentially. Like, before we even had an offer from anybody, we started making this record on a speculative basis with Machine.
Yeah. So you got wait, you were going to Jersey to record with him?
Yeah, I didn't want. It's just cool. I didn't want to jump ahead too far or anything, but
Oh no no no! I was saying because I remember the machine was based out of Weehawken or Hoboken,
yeah,
like right
Weehawken.
there.
Yeah, Weehawken. And so we made this demo. We kind of shopped it around. We kind of got a few feelers from Vagrant and a couple other labels, and we're like, all right, we're gonna just go ahead and make the record and take it to the highest bidder, essentially.
Oh wow! So you guys hold on. So you guys did that three-song with Machine?
No, we did it. We did the 3 song by ourselves.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, okay.
we got the booking agency and kind of put it out there to see who might be interested in our band, like if they would sign us. But then we decided, like through Machine, like Avanj got in contact with Machine, and he decided to work with us on like a speculative basis, like make the best record we can, and then see who the highest bidder is.
So did you guys just out of pocketed that whole record?
It was like up front, man. Like I think Machine did us, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I mean Machine did it with us, like,
That's
and he got a cut of the fee essentially.
that's fucking crazy. Wait, so meaning that you paid up, he said this is my price and you said here you go, or he said I'm gonna do this, but when you guys get signed, I'm taking a percentage of that.
Yes, correct. The latter.
Wow. How did
Really
he
believed
how'd
in
you
us, man.
what's up?
He must have really believed in us.
I mean, the sound, like, were any of the songs on soundtrack to a Headrush on the 3 song demo?
Yeah, it was. So the 3 song demo was the Hey Man up front,
Oh,
and then
there you go.
Tonight, and then soundtrack to a Head Rush, the song.
Oh, wow. Okay, that makes total sense. Those are fucking bangers.
Those were the first three that we like wrote as Emmanuel.
Wait, so Make Tonight, you wrote that? That was one of the first 3 songs you guys wrote as a manual?
Yes.
Dude, that song is like pure fucking sex.
Dude, we've had so much like amazing response from that song. Like I got an email one time saying her and her boyfriend conceived their kid and they were naming it Emmanuel. We had marriage proposals on awkward marriage proposals on stage to this song. Like just the biggest impact. And so that whole song, like when me and Anthony wrote it, the beat to it, it is just it sounds unique in like rock and roll music, but it's a straight up take from Aaliyah and Timberland. That ooh boy, I've been watching you like a hawk. It's straight up that beat.
Oh my God, yeah, the dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, we just me and Anthony were hanging out one night, and like 2002 or something, and heard the song on the radio and turned it into a song.
I know that song, kind of like going back to what I was saying about how you guys were like you had the girls in the front and everything. Like I've always felt like you guys were just these like chick magnets. And when I heard that song, I was like, this song defines this fucking bit. Like this song defines, I think, the core of what you guys are. Even though every other song is just like loud and rocks. I think like that was the shell, but I felt like the inner core of what you guys stood for was that song.
Yeah, I think that's totally spot on, man. I mean, it it had all like we had all this swagger, but like deep down, what's the point of the swagger? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we're cool and we're trying to get chicks. Essentially, that we're 20-year-old dudes. So
So amazing. I mean, like when you guys first played that out, did anyone come up to you and they were like, dude, what the hell? That song slaps.
yeah, man, Make Tonight has always been one of the songs for us that like from the very beginning got a really positive feedback from people, and we played it all the way to the very end. It's one of the songs that we never left off the set list.
Yeah. That's like, where would that be? Like the middle? 'Cause that's not an ending song. That's not an intro.
Yeah,
That's like
no,
kind
it's
of right in
the
the
middle.
middle.
It's like maybe third. You know what I mean? Like,
Really? That's so slow, the third song.
well, here's the thing though. Emmanuel had a thing. If you'd be like, okay, you guys are opening up and you have 45 minutes, we'd be like, how about 30? Because you want to get in there, in my opinion, and it was always you get in there, you impress people, and you get out. If they don't know your songs by heart, it's better to never let them get bored.
That's a great fucking that's 100%. Yeah, that's completely accurate.
You know, because you watch a band, like even if they're good, but if you don't know them, at some point you're like, oh, okay, when's the next band coming on? But no, we never want to give people the chance.
When you're on tour with these bands, you would literally just chop off 15 minutes of your set just to make that impression.
Yeah, I mean, we would always try to play the shortest set that we possibly could. I mean, that sounds crazy, right? But
No,
you know,
it
'cause
makes sense.
nobody was gonna like let us play 3 songs, and of course we didn't want to either. But yeah, if they ever gave us a choice, like do 6 or 9 songs, we're like we'll do 6.
That's great. That's so smart. That's really fucking smart. Did you see that actually worked for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Yeah, I think that we could go out there and give our absolute best energy, which on some days is not easy. When you are your seventh straight day of like being hungover and sleeping in the backseat of a van, but come alive for those 30 minutes and sell some t-shirts. That's the only hope. So
Yeah, as soon as you get on stage, you feel that rush either way. It doesn't matter how shitty you are. You get that
yeah,
adrenaline.
I haven't. Yeah, it's an amazing feeling, man. What it was all about to me back then.
Well, what made you guys think of reaching out to Machine at that point?
Honest to God, I think it was like through the industry channels, through Avange and her contacts as a booking agent slash manager kind of thing. Because I don't know that we really knew any of Machine stuff at this point. Machine was we were the first band of this like scene and genre he had ever worked for.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys were before, man. You guys were before Armor for Sleep?
Yes.
No shit.
Yeah. I guess he really liked our demo, and he took us on Speculation, and we moved up to we packed our van full of stuff, and we left Indiana late one night in the wintertime, and right outside of Zionsville, Ohio, we slid off the road, and our fender like got jammed into our tire, and we were lucky enough that a tow truck was able to pull it out with a chain, and we got back on our way like hobbling
Oh
the rest
shit.
of the way to Weehawken, and we moved in there for like 3-4 weeks.
You guys like lived in the studio.
The other guys stayed with a buddy of ours from the band, the AKAs, Lucas Previn. He lived in Brooklyn, and so they were staying with him a lot. But I pretty much camped out in a sleeping bag by myself every night in the studio.
Did you just feel like you were living the fucking dream because like that whole time just doing that?
Beside myself, dude. Like that was, yeah. I mean, I remember being 12, bleaching my hair blonde and just like jamming to 311 records, singing into the mirror, and like I felt like I was living that life.
The whole scene is changing at this time. What were your guys' thoughts about that? Because you guys just went with it. I mean, you guys like did you guys dressed like the scene, like you guys went with it. The sound, I felt your sound it progressed. You had a really screamy like voice, but you also could sing really well. But I felt like you guys were going along with it, but you kind of were your own section of it. I felt because like the sound that came out of that record.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Around that same time period, it went from punk and skate culture kind of being the same thing. Like all the band dudes wearing Goodwill t-shirts or skate shirts and stuff until suddenly you had like when MySpace had the MySpace effect, suddenly you had scene stuff. You had scene hair and the birth of skinny jeans. Yeah, we went along with it, but and we always loved these really big scene bands like Taking Back Sunday, and we always loved it, but they would have all emotionally earnest songs on their records, and we were cool with some of that, but we always wanted to. We had a guitar player who could like shred, and we were going to use that. And we had Anthony who could just like make you deaf in your left ear for the rest of your life, like he did me. And we were going to use it, man.
Well, that was like the thing too, is that you guys that was the one thing I never really paid attention to or didn't I didn't notice it when we'd play with you guys, but you guys are really good fucking musicians. And when I heard that record, I was like, have you guys always just fucking shredded across the board? Like, was that always a thing, or that just really happen around the time that you guys recorded that record?
We were blessed with this situation where like Matt was always this amazing shredding guitarist. Anthony is just he's just an autodidact. Like anything he touches, he's good at. His brother is the same way today. Anything he touches, he's good at. Brian's like a natural businessman, which is perfect for the bass, right? He's just this businessman, and I was just kind of the idea guy who was blessed to have the three of them. And they were always good, but we had kind of came into our own when we started writing these songs for soundtrack to Headrush. Like, we figured out what we could do, what we were good at. We played. I can't even imagine how many hours went into the. Now as an adult, with like so much to do. I can't imagine how. It must have been 10,000 hours we spent just writing that record.
How did you guys bring a song about then? Because yeah, like did someone just show up and say, "Here's the full thing," or did you guys collaborate on all the pieces?
Yeah, never. Never did it like that. Like I'm no, yeah, I never had like the attention span to do that. So I would like come up with some fragments, and I would usually run them by with Anthony first, and me and Anthony would kind of brick them out, and then we'd bring them to a full band practice and let Matt do his lead guitar thing on it, spice it up, and Brian come up with the bass line, and then like I said, we were really lucky to have Matt. He's just like super technical, and so not only did he always like make sure we had amps that sound great, because I would have been out there like playing on like a PV, you know what I mean? Like I didn't care about what it sounded like. I just wanted to make music. But he could also record us, so we'd have that early stage. I would have the benefit of recording a song and going back and doing the vocals, writing the vocals over the song.
Did you guys like how long did it take you to write that entire record before you brought it to Machine?
2 or 3 years probably. I think probably like some of the genesis of the songs had started years earlier.
Holy shit.
But let's say like 1 solid year of like actually working on the material, I think is fair.
Did you kind of like, did you guys have, and I'm going to talk more about like when you guys got in Vagrant and things like that. I just like, I'm just fascinated by this record. And um, did you guys like, did you feel that this thing was going to just fucking pop off?
Yeah, man. I mean, it felt electric from the time that we started demoing it, and like once we actually started recording it and like hearing the playback, yeah, I think we were like over the moon. Like we knew something was going to happen. It had this feeling to it.
I'm just gonna say this because I was, playing, being a bass player, starting off as a bass player. That fucking sound that Brian got or Machine got on Brian's bass. I don't know who the fuck did it or if Matt got it. That's one of my favorite bass sounds I think on any record. And like that
On
record,
track,
what's up?
you talking about on soundtrack to a Headrush?
Yeah, that bass sound, it just growls and it's so amazing. Like every time after I heard that, I was like, anytime I would go record just some random stuff, I was like, we need to make the bass sound like this. I was like, because it's
So
one of the
heavy.
best. It's so fucking amazing.
So, like I think what they did with the bass was like recorded it in, and then Machine like loved like room mics, and so the actual like laid down to tape sound from the bass is an 8x10 laying on its side, with the bass tracks being played back out through the board and being re-recorded in a different mic also.
Wow, that's
So
insane.
cool like to work with this dude, Machine. He had so We never worked with a producer who like really helped us write our songs. Like I would have loved to, looking back on it, but we never did. They were great engineers, and they'd be like, this part to your song kind of sucks, and so we'd be like, and usually we'd already know it. You know what I mean? We'd be like, god damn it, you called us out on that weak part that we knew about, and we'd go work it out. But it always made us sound awesome. I mean, we sounded awesome.
Yeah. Is there anything about that record you don't like? Like a part or something that just stands out?
Yeah, I think like when I listen to it today, like there's places where there should be more vocal harmonies. If I had to do it all over again, there's like some lyrics I would rewrite, like just because throwing the word bitch around a whole lot that I'm not super proud of, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But other than that, no.
How do you say nine again? Is Zerosicide?
Xeroxicide.
Xeroxicide. That was like on my one of my running playlists for years. That thing would get me like that would kick so much ass when you're running. I don't know why. I just like break in and I just get this like extra boost because of that song. I fucking love
Perfect
it.
tempo, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember the night you wrote that. It was me and Anthony writing down in my grandma's basement. We had this room in our basement that was all wood paneling, and we had all these old record covers, old jazz records that were my papaws and stuff like that, and we just plastered the wall with them. And we had came up with that lick, just that first lick. We fucking knew it rocked. I think I had been listening to Interpol at the time, early Interpol, and it kind of reminded me of that. Brian and Matt showed up, and we wrote that song in like 4 hours. That was the thing too back then, at least for us. If we had to try and write a song, it never came out good. But if we had like a good song, we would write it in 15 minutes.
Wait, give me 1 second. Hold on. I want to listen to just the beginning of this real quick. Brother, we steady. Oh, I fucking love that shit. And then I've never really stayed on a record this much in an interview, but this thing, I love this record so much that I'm just gonna just kind of break it down a little bit more, just like maybe one more. But like even the like the intro for Dislocated, just like the comes with like just like you, and then everything breaks in. I felt like it was such a great last song.
Yeah, that song really rounded out the album for sure. It felt like an ending. Like we were always, the four of us, like super Beatles fans, and we back in the day we would get stoned and listen to Beatles records, and it kind of ingrained in us that like albums themselves are kind of like a song. Like it has to ebb and flow, and we were always like, Dislocated was always going to be the last song.
Yeah, that song's fucking awesome. So you guys have this now. You have it in your possession. Did you start a bidding war?
Yeah, Avance put it out there, and we started getting all kinds of offers. Some from like we went and played a showcase for Columbia Records, which although like to me it was like a crazy dream come true. It was like the stiffest.
Yeah.
It's like noon on a Wednesday, and we're like in this office room with a tiny stage in the middle of it, playing for these like executives. It did not capture our energy, and we did not get an offer. I mean, it just didn't feel right. Razor and Tie, who like makes compilations, they wanted to get in the record game, and they had presented us an offer. I want to say TNT Records. I could be wrong about that. Whoever puts out Little John's albums.
Okay. I don't
Um,
know.
we got the A&R dude from that record like courted us, and he took us up in his office, and he he was one of the wildest dudes. He's like this old dude with a ponytail, and he's got like Ray-Bans on in the office. It's a crate of Crunk energy drink on his desk. He's he's like talking in these really horrible, sleazy lingo. He's like, "You right there, brother. You got the chops," and just like super weird. And we got a whole bunch of Crunk energy drink and took that with us. Um, so there was that, and we just that was one of the funnest parts for us because, I mean, getting to go to like these nice restaurants in New York City, taking out with labels, and like I said, it feels like a dream come true. But Anthony, our drummer, he's a wild man. He's always been a wild man.
Yeah.
And I just remember this one time, some label had taken us out to this like really nice Asian steakhouse in New York City, and they brought us the salads, and they had like ginger dressing on them. And Anthony was legitimately upset, maybe even a little rude with the waitress because they didn't have any ranch dressing. We'd have these labels taking us out to places, and like we were wearing our Kentucky on our sleeve, like they knew. So I mean, it was
Oh.
like new money. You know what I mean? We lived it.
Did you guys, I mean, I feel like record labels, that's every story I've ever heard is, yeah, they courted us, they took us out to fancy dinners. It's like, I feel like there'd be something better that a label could do to really stand out instead of just taking you out for steaks.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think Razor and Tide took us out to a strip club one time,
Oh, there you go.
and and they bought us like a few dances, and I remember I was getting a lap dance, and the dancer was like, I don't know, she said something like, I want to give you another dance. Let's something like that. And I was like, okay, yeah, go for it. And so I got like two or three more. And at the time, she was like, okay, $400. I was like, oh, I don't have any money at all. So I had to go to this A&R guy and be like, hey, man, sorry, I kind of misunderstood what was happening. But he covered it. It was all okay.
He's like, oh, that's cool, man. I actually budgeted for you to get 10, but this is actually, I'm saving money right now. You're like, son of a
He
bitch.
seemed a little verklempt about it. I think I ran up a bill on him, man. We didn't know any better.
Fuck that, man. Live it. It's just like,
Absolutely, dude. Yeah, looking back now, my God, I should have asked for everything.
I mean, I feel like when anyone was gonna court you guys, they're like, all right, what do these guys want? We got to get them nice dinners. They're like, fuck that, strip club, um, and probably a ton of drugs.
You know, at that time, we hadn't quite gotten there yet. We were mostly just swigging Jägermeister 24/7 at that point. Look, I can't speak for any of the rest of the guys, but all of my truths are on the table.
Okay, all right. So if I ever ask, because I know that it became, I know that like you guys were definitely wild dudes when we saw you like that, so I know that was part of it.
Yes.
All right, so Vagrant, you get signed. How'd that happen, and then what was like the first tour you guys go on?
Um, Vagrant signed us by so yeah, we ended up kind of going with their route, and their offer to us was like pretty good money for albums and a stage on their Warp Tour. They had a Warp Tour stage and a spot on that, and plus, really for us, man, like we fucking loved Vagrant Records, like we
Yeah,
loved their bands.
yeah,
So like that was honest to God, looking back, like that's probably the high water mark, right? Like I got signed to the record label that my favorite band growing up was on. So it was amazing for us. They signed us, and we got a new van. We got some new guitars with our bonus. We started touring. I want to say our first tour with Vagrant was with, oh god, dude, I feel bad now. I can't remember the band's name. Moneen. Yeah, it was Moneen and From Autumn to Ashes were our first couple big tours. Yes.
Did you know Jason Link? He was on tour with those. He mentioned in his interview he's the creative director for Epitaph for the last 10 years, but he used to go on tour with a lot of bands and sell merch, and he designs for like Bayside. He designed the bird logo for Bayside.
No, I didn't. I don't know him. I don't think, or maybe I did. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, because he was with those guys I think at that time. So that's funny if you guys were just
he was with Fada or Moneen.
he was with Moneen on tour. I don't know if it was exactly that time, but
Those guys were so cool, man. Those guys were so nice.
yeah, that's what I heard. I've never really like listened to them, but I heard like just they're like the nicest dudes.
Yeah, just awesome guys, so welcoming to us, and so we did a couple shows in the States, and then like pretty much real quickly we did our first European tour.
What the fuck? So who'd you go out with on that one?
Census Fail, Moneen, and I think maybe From Autumn to Ashes. I think it was like Vagrant across the Europe tour.
Did you feel because you were so new to it, did you feel like you second guess being on these tours?
Yeah, I mean, I think being so young and so new to everything, I second guessed like everything all the time.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, just always wondering if we were doing the right thing and how long it would last, and because there was no roadmap, there was no roadmap for us. Essentially, we didn't know anybody that had ever done it. At one point, Avange, our booking agent, became our manager, and we had a couple other options. Looking back on it today, the other options like ended up representing some really huge bands, huge bands. But we stuck with Avange out of like sheer loyalty because that's the kind of people we were. I don't know if in the end it was like the right career decision, but I know that I'm happy that I did it.
It's meaning like, I mean, this was after how many years of touring and being on Vagrant that this happened?
Let's say two or three. Just, I mean, at the very peak of soundtrack, like we had some other options, and we had people telling us to bail on our manager, because she was a brand new. She had never managed before. She's super successful today, from what I see, but people were telling us to bail, and we stuck with it just out of pure loyalty, and I don't regret that at all.
Did you ever like have that conversation with her saying like, hey, like people are coming after us, but we're sticking with you? Or was it kind of kept it under the
I don't
wraps?
know if we ever did up front. I think maybe it was kind of like we had it amongst ourselves. I think we were always pretty sure about it. When today as an adult who's like paying their bills, when I see the vans that this other dude managed, like how big they got, I'm like, oh fuck. But I had never heard of the bands at the time.
I didn't realize that managers had, I just thought managers were, and I talked to Nick Storch. He still manages like a shit ton of bands, and that's his like career. And I mean, I just saw it as they book tours. I didn't really know. I don't really know the real responsibilities of a manager.
So like our manager was Yvonne. She was handling making sure the t-shirts got printed, hooking us up with designers, hooking up with printing companies, booking our tickets for overseas stuff, getting us spot. We had like I'm just a dude today who like has a job, but I never talk about my band. But when I occasionally do, we had such crazy sponsorships that I hesitate to tell people because I think they'll think I'm just like making shit up.
Wait, who? Who are the sponsorships? Now,
I
now
mean,
you can. This is the perfect platform for it.
number one is Nike. You know what I mean? We used to go to the Nike warehouse
That's
out.
fucking right. I remember that shit. You guys came in your all this Nike gear. I was like, what the
Dude,
fuck?
they would give us like a fucking literal trash bag and be like, go wild. Stuff like that. It's like at the time I knew it was awesome, but now as an adult, I'm like, oh my, cannot believe that.
That's so crazy. I do remember that. Yeah, that was one thing that stood out back then. I think at the show or someone had mentioned that. I was just like, it doesn't. I was like, that's awesome. I was like, it doesn't make any sense to me that Nike. I was like, I don't know any other band that Nike is sponsoring unless they're
Yeah, they
sports or
had like
something.
Thrice design their own shoe.
Oh wow.
Tim Bergevin was this dude at Nike who did like stuff with artists, and God bless him, he was fucking fantastic. I mean, we must have taken $45,000 worth of gear from Nike. You know what I mean?
Jesus
So
Christ. So it's just so random, just like for Thrice, I fucking never liked that band until like their third, the album after that double thing they did was like
Yeah,
Beggars or something. And I was like, holy shit. That's when I like. I always sometimes fall in love with bands like later on, so either like early on and I forget about them later, but later on I was like, dude, I love this goddamn band.
yeah, they stayed right at it, man. They made some really great records.
Were they on Vagrant too?
I think they ended up being on Vagrant about the time that we were leaving or going on hiatus.
So you guys are doing this shit. I mean, this is right when, I mean, 2002 to 2004. I mean, that's like that new wave of where the mid 2000s was Fat Records, Epitaph, and that's when the SoCal punk thing comes about. So it's like, I'm kind of envisioning this where you guys get on Vagrant. It'd be like, I don't know if this is the right band to say this, but like almost like Strung Out getting on Fat Records at that time, where
Yeah,
so it's like you getting on Vagrant is kind of parallel to that, but even though Strung Out, like they're still together and they're still playing and shit like that. But
Vagrant had started signing this newer generation of bands. I think they hit Census Fail right before us, and then we followed them, and then Fada came. But it was like the Vagrant Records 2.0. Not all these
yeah,
classical bands or classic punk bands, and it was a hot mess back then. I mean, it was just times were wild, and I felt like it all happened like right at the end of the print age and at the beginning of the digital age, and like nobody knew what they were doing.
yeah. But I mean, but at the same time, there was this. You could see it was bigger because the internet gave you a bigger view, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
In the mid to late 90s or early to late 90s, you had CD shops and that was your view and zines and things like that. But now you have the internet, which is now you can see videos of bands kind of. It wasn't not as big now with YouTube and all that, but you're seeing like you're getting kind of a behind the scenes look of like how big shit's getting. So you guys are you're on the label, you're touring. Did you kind of feel like at what point did you feel like you hit a ceiling where you're going, we're not really getting to where we want to get?
So before the record came out, when it was on the Speculation deal and we ended up signing to Vagrant, and we're getting like a Nike sponsorship. Like everyone is telling us we're gonna be fucking huge. We have stars in our eyes. So Vagrant had our record and it wasn't out yet. They sent it to some like early releases to be reviewed, like Rolling Stone reviewed our record, which is fucking rad. But they sent it to a bunch of places. Then they changed their distribution and they had to do a distribution deal. So like our record had kind of already got out on the internet and it didn't come out for like 3 or 4 more months. And in that time, everybody downloaded our album. Everybody downloaded it. We were going to shows and kids were singing along with us. But when it came out, everybody already had it. And so like our sound scans, which were at the time super important metric, were like way lower than everyone expected. That record, like not coming out the minute it was finished, it cut the legs out from under us from that point forward.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So because of that, like it didn't look like like I'm telling you, every kid at the shows would know the lyrics, but on paper we have sold not very many records.
Did you have any conversations with other bands at that time who were going through the same problem?
No, nothing really like that. I mean, I heard other bands, have problems in their own way with their labels and distributions, but no, man, that's what I mean. Like I think we came out in this era that had never happened before, so it wasn't going to happen now, but it did happen to us. Enough people then knew how to get on LimeWire or whatever and pass this record around where it just we had the actual fans, but we could not prove it on paper. And when someone is booking a tour for a Blink 182, they want on paper how many bands this opener is going to draw every night.
Fucking A. What a punch to the dick.
Yeah, man, it really sucked. And we knew then things weren't as awesome as we'd hoped they'd be, but we still had a lot of good stuff going for us. And for a long time, it was ups and downs. We'd do a great tour with Armor for Sleep, and then we do like one memorable one is we did a tour with the Suicide Girls. They had like a burlesque show,
Oh, hell yeah.
which seems like a great pairing, like early Emanuel and the Suicide Girls.
Hell yeah.
But it did not go well. And
Well, wait, why? Why?
Okay, I don't really remember why exactly, but I can tell you, like, kind of. They had like this tour manager who was a real jerk, and they treated us pretty shitty. And like, I think they kind of treated us like we were just like creeps, and like they didn't even want us like getting close to any of the girls. Or I don't know what their whole operation was. To me, looking back, their operation seemed predatory.
Mm.
But regardless, we didn't get along, and we had a falling out, and they kicked us off the tour, or we bailed on the fucking tour. It was what it was until a few months later. We actually ran into them at an after party somewhere in Philadelphia, and a huge fight broke out.
Wait, really?
I had just left. I had just left with my girlfriend at the time, and like, yeah, one of these girls, I'm pretty sure, like punched Brian in the face and split his lip.
Holy shit. Holy
And
shit.
it was like a huge rumble with the Suicide Girls.
With Brian and the Suicide Girls.
Yeah, I think like somebody like attacked Anthony, and I don't know, all this crazy shit happened, and it was ups and downs like that, man. I mean, we were having a blast and just like, still trying to be just as wild as we could, but we toured for a long time on soundtrack to a Headrush, and that was one of the other mistakes that we made, I feel like.
Were you guys actually making money? Like, were you able to pay bills and like rent apartments or whatever,
We
have any
all
money
no,
from
we,
it?
no, we all lived at home with our parents because we were never there, and like we weren't really making very like we would make some bread, like we'd sell T-shirts and stuff like that, and we'd get royalty checks, but they weren't for much. We didn't really make a whole lot of money in that time period. Touring Ada, I think we treated ourselves pretty well on tour though.
What do you mean?
We had money to eat, we had money to buy shit, we had fun. We always had fun on tour, whether it was fucking just going out and partying every night or getting a nice dinner. We didn't make enough money to send anything home, but we had a good time.
You basically just like lived it on the road and came back with nothing. You're like, yeah, fuck it. We just paid for that experience. So,
Pretty much, yes, exactly. And that was okay with us, I think, at the time. We were mostly all pretty cool with that.
I think Matt Barber said to me one time, I think it was when I saw you, when you guys stayed over my apartment in Jersey, the last time I saw you, we were getting pizza or something, or we were talking.
I fucking remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, because you were like just off on your own, you just did your own thing. You kind of were like
Always. Yeah. I was a weirdo, man. I was a loner.
you were super quiet, just off to the side. I think you were actually just listening to music in the van, and we were inside my apartment or something.
That probably sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like writing or listening to music, and so I was hanging out with like Anthony and Matt and Brian, and then you had like a tour manager at the time, some dude. I forget, he had a weird name.
It's probably Jeff, but we called him the Bird.
The Bird, that was it. Yes.
Yeah.
That was it. And so he's like running around trying to book things or doing his do. But I remember Matt said to me, either was at Connections or at the apartment, he was like, dude, because I was asking him like what happened with Vagrant. He's like, man, Vagrant thought we were gonna be like the next Jimmy Eat World.
That's probably a perfect example. They thought we were going to be, but what ended up happening actually was I would have these moments where I'd be out at a show or on tour at a bar, and the singer from Jimmy Eat World or the singer from Taking Back Sunday or some other band that I idolized would come up to me and be like, "Oh man, our new record sounds the way it does because of Soundtrack to a Headrush."
No
And
fucking way.
it'd be like, "That's an honor."
That's
But it'd be
awesome.
nice if we sold some records.
It's funny, man. Actually, I've listened to Louder Now in my brain. There is that like rough edge kind of sound to it. I mean, I don't, there is a like a more of a rock sound for when that record
Yeah,
came
no,
out.
I mean they did tell me that, I think we have the honor of being a band's band, which,
That's dope.
in the annals of histories is pretty cool, but it didn't pay the rent back then.
Yeah, I was gonna say like you're like, well, don't no checks are coming in because of coolness.
Nope,
That
not at all.
sucks, man.
Yeah,
Fucking
so
oh, sorry,
we
go
were
on.
out having fun. No, you're okay. We were out having fun still. I mean, we were still throwing TVs out of moving vans and
Wait,
shit like
so
that.
you guys like really like you had I'm guessing there's a lot. I mean, we kind of mentioned that there's like I think there's a lot of bands I talked to. There's like I say all the time, like I get like kind of the PG-13. There's some shit that goes down where it's just like I'm not digging for that, but there's like crazy shit like you just kind of mentioned that like throwing TVs at vans shit.
Yeah, we were partying every night. I mean, we were as wild as we could be all the time.
Was that because it was like chemically fueled, or you guys were like that also when you were sober?
Um, yeah, I think a little bit of both. I mean, we were. we loved to drink and it was like a pissing contest with each other to see who could be the wildest. Yeah, I mean, what I just alluded to was one night after a show, we had, we were all drunk, and so we were going to stay with these girls at their apartment. We had some like random 17-year-old girl drive our van and trailer because we were too drunk,
Oh my God.
and someone may or may not have thrown a 14-inch TV onto the interstate while we were driving. While this poor girl was driving.
Oh my God.
Looking back on it today, I would not recommend it. You know what I mean? But
I feel like if you guys went on tour with Piebalds, people would have died.
God, we loved them so much too.
Because they were crazy as fuck too. I think you guys would have. I think it would have been a close race to see who would have out like crazy the other fucking band on the road.
I don't think we ever got to meet them. We did. Piebald toured with Recover, I think, at one point, and we did get to tour with Recover, and that made for a pretty wild pair.
Recover's that band that I always hear about. I don't see anything about them, but I hear a lot of bands talk about influence. Like I told Ben from Armor for Sleep, I was like, I hear, because I had the Recover CD, and there was song 4, where it had like this weird like, do you believe anyone to, whatever that weird beat. I was like, because his voice would crack, and I told Ben, I was like, man, I hear like an influence of that guy's voice in your voice because there's that cracking. There's a sound there that matches him. And he's like, yeah, I think you're right. But they were
please, yeah, huge to us.
yeah, like they were huge to so many bands, but I just remember hearing that about them because of so many bands saying that, but I never, and that's what made me get their record. But after that, I never would see anything about them.
They're another one of these bands that like when I say like that thing happened with our distro, they had a thing happen to them too that I think really fucked their career up, unfortunately.
They had like their shit leak out too.
No, what happened with them was they got signed to a label and did this like massive production and recorded these songs with like I think it may have been like a dude who produced Linkin Park, and it was just like super technical, awesome record. And their label was like, "No, we hate this. Like, we want you to do a stripped down version of this stuff." But like, I've never heard the album, but I've heard from a million people who have heard their record that never came out that it would have been like the best record of the decade.
That's crazy.
So that must have sucked for them real bad.
Were you pissed at Vagrant because after seeing the record get leaked and then not being able to get on bigger tours or it's fucking up your bank account? Like, were you at some point being like, did it cause any friction between you and them?
I mean, not quite at that stage. Like, we were too naive to be as pissed as we should have been. And so like we were just like, okay, well we'll just kind of try again, you know. But we just kept touring and we kept touring and we kept touring when we should have been like there should have been records in between Soundtrack and Black Earth Tiger. But we just toured forever, and it kind of broke our spirits because yeah, like at this point there are more substances in the mix. There's like an unraveling of mental wellness in a couple of us, and we're just fucking tired too.
How many years was it between Soundtrack to Headrush and Black Earth Tiger?
Let's say 5, probably 5 or 4.
Damn. So you were just going nonstop for 5 years?
Nonstop, man. Like 300 days a year. You know what I mean?
Holy shit! Really?
We toured all the time, dude.
So at what point did it stop becoming fucking fun?
I mean, like, so it's kind of a weird memory, but I remember one of the earliest feelings I had was we were sitting in a van driving somewhere, and I had downloaded Lost, the first episode of Lost, onto like a Generation 2 iPod. I was watching it while the van was driving, and I thought to myself, God, it would be nice just to sit at home sometimes and fucking chill, you know, and just watch TV like normal people, which sounds crazy if you're in a rock band on tour, but you live in a suitcase, and we all loved each other, you know, we were all still super tight, but I don't know, man, like it just would have been nice to have some breaks and to write some, because really what we loved was making the creation of music. Playing it was cool, but when you play a song 700 times, you end up faking it sometimes. And we just wanted to write more, and they just kept putting us on more tours, and it wore a couple of us out pretty bad.
Why didn't you guys just say, okay, we need a fucking 3-month, 5-month break?
I think, we took a couple little breaks here and there, but because we were still also being told, oh, you got to keep chasing, man. The carrot's only a few more feet ahead of you.
That's so frustrating.
Yeah, it was. So we kept going and kept trying to make the best of it, but by the time we kind of headed back to write Black Earth Tiger, we were like in a super different place.
Yeah, and definitely want to talk about that because the record's night and day from the first one to that one. I mean, it's like
For sure.
spacey and dark and moody, and it's a different animal.
Absolutely it is, yeah.
Yeah, I think even talking to Matt, we were talking about it, and I was like, yeah, man, it's different. It's like it's very Deftone-ish like influence. I thought I saw a write-up too that you had said you were listening to a lot of Deftones at the time. Is that right?
Yeah, we were listening. Deftones was a big one. We were listening to Deftones, Alice in Chains, a bunch of grunge bands. We kind of felt that corner turning where like '90s were going to be cool again, and we were also listening to a bunch of this, so we kind of just leaned into it.
I don't hear any 90s in that record.
Yeah, listen to it again, man. Like listen to like Cenotaph and stuff. Like a lot of the guitar solos and stuff. I mean, it's a lot of screaming on my part, but a lot of the guitar solos and the use of like a whammy pedal during the solos,
Mm.
it's pretty grungy.
Yeah, that's what Matt said. He was like, "What do you think?" I was like, I don't know, man. It's not hitting me the same way as the first record. I'm like, to be honest. And he's like, just put headphones on and really just give time to it. And I never did that, but like, it sounds like there's a lot going on in it that, like, for him to tell me that, that means there's like things that there was thought put into the recording that you guys had.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So like, what is some of that though? Like, what are some of those things where you were like, we did a lot of time with this. We put these things in that you can't really hear, but if you pay attention, they're there.
Yeah, I mean, like in the outro, there is the recording of a baby crying, and the outro is the same song as the first song. They're both called White Flag One and White Flag Reprise,
Yeah.
and they're kind of meant to loop into each other. There's all kinds of stereo panning back and forth. I mean, when we came home to write this record, previously to this, we had written a song called by Sarah for a video game or something. That whole thing, like there was a time where we were writing songs that never got released that were an in between Black Earth Tiger and Soundtrack to a Headrush. If we had been given time to create that stepping stone, I think things would have been a lot smoother for everybody. But we never got to. And like when it came time to write, they were like, "You guys need to write something poppy, or people aren't necessarily going to accept Black Earth Tiger the same way." I mean, they said go back and rewrite it, and we basically said no, like that we couldn't. Like yes, there was a record that should have existed before that, but it's too late now, and we 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 couldn't enjoy playing stuff that what we were in a heavy and a dark place, and that's what we were going to create, and we all knew, some people will like it, some people won't get it, some people might get it later, but this is who we are, this is what we're making.
Did you want this to be kind of like your outro? Like, did you want this to be the thing that made you guys stop being a band?
I don't know if I did consciously at the time, because I loved the process of creating it with Harry Day and living up in Seattle. But man, there was just things were kind of coming to a head. We had already been through a lot. Like I said, we were all exhausted. I, at this point, was like holding back like a wall of depression that I didn't really know was there. And I had gone from essentially filling that hole with relationships with women and girls, and I'd kind of transitioned over to filling it with opiates. And I don't know if I consciously wanted it to end, but I mean, it's a dark, heavy record, and I mean, it's kind of I mean, the first and last song are called White Flag. You know what I mean? So
Damn. Did anyone at that time come up to you when this came out and kind of call you out on that and say like, "Hey, dude, I kind of listened to this. Like, you okay?"
yeah, I mean, in some interviews, yeah, it kind of got phrased like that, and I don't know that I was. I don't really know that I was conscious of it at the time, but yeah, I mean, I'd already said like I'm not gonna like one of the guys in the band right as we were recording this, like playing some shows. He had like we partied one night and he partied too much and he had like a straight mental breakdown on a van ride one day.
Oh shit.
Um, yeah, I mean it's partly funny, like it was, and it's he got he had done a bunch of drugs the night before and was in the van with us the next day, and was like homesick and like not mentally well and angry. And at every gas station, he was just like stopping and pounding a 40, and we kept being like, "You've got to cool down." But then we get back in the car and he'd be screaming. Like at one point, he started screaming. He's like, "I don't need you. I don't need anybody. I can sing. I can dance. I'm gonna be the next Justin Timberlake."
Oh,
We're like,
Jesus.
somebody gag him. Like somebody shut him up. Um, but like things were unraveling.
Well, why did you stick with it, man? I mean, if you saw that like it took you 5 years, and I'm guessing that whole time you guys are playing. In the beginning, you're playing big shows, but also it's almost like you started a race and someone gave you like a flat tire on your shoe, right? And you were like
Yeah,
one of
it
the top
is.
racers, and you have to keep running with that for like a fucking a marathon.
Because we loved it. I mean, things we kept getting like tours with 30 Seconds to Mars, tours with Saves the Day. Things good kept happening for us, but it always felt like that carrot was getting just a little farther ahead. But it was still fun. I mean, I I didn't really know. I mean, I had never done anything else with my life, so I didn't really know what the other outcome would be. And I still love making music with my bros. That's just what we kept doing until kind of the wheels fell off on our last tour in England.
So let's talk about that then. So let's kind of, and then I'll probably dip back into some more things and go back, but like, how did everything fall apart?
We were super burnt. We've been touring forever. We're all drinking too much. Some of us are straight laced people, and they were fine. And we just were like had girlfriends. Like Devin was about to have a kid. No, I didn't mean to like gloss over Devin and this whole thing. He joined the band before Black Earth Tiger. He was a huge instrumental part in writing Black Earth Tiger. He was gonna go back home and just be a dad because he's a good dude. I respected that, and like I had started really writing with Devin, and like I was like, man, if he's, I don't want to lose him as a member of the band now. And we were in England, man, and it's just you can't. It's the early 2000s. We have like Nokia phones with calling cards. People can't get a hold of their girlfriends, their wives. We were homesick. We had been on the road too long. We were touring with this band Fight Star, which is like they're like the screamo emo project of like in America. It's like the equivalent of like if one of the Hanson brothers started a screamo emo project.
Oh my God.
And so it's just like not the right vibe for us at all. And we were just miserable. And we started being like, oh, we're gonna leave the tour. We're gonna go home. A couple of us wanted to, a couple of us didn't want to. I know Vagrant was like, if you bail on this, then you're on the hook for your tickets.
Oh wow.
So I think we finished it out. We went up on the stage on the last night in London, and I don't know if we like said that it was going to be our last show, but I think it was kind of understood between the four of us. So we went up because I knew we didn't normally play the last song on our record, White Flag Reprise. It's like this long outro song, but we did play it as the last song on the set list that night. And so I think we all kind of knew at heart that it was going to be the end.
Did you feel like a sense of relief when that happened? Like when you stepped off?
Right at first, yes. Right at because at the time, like I said, man, I was kind of struggling with my mental health, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna go home and live with my girlfriend, and I'm gonna be free to do what I want, naively. So I thought I would be stoked on it, yeah.
This kind of stands out to me because I had mentioned before that I remembered when you guys broke up or were breaking up because we were friends on Facebook or MySpace. And the thing around like I've lived very vocally about my life. Like I've been divorced and I've like blogged about it and done like video like diary, vlogging or blogged about it, vlogged about it. Like I've done podcast things. Like I've been very vocal through the last like I'd
Right
say
on.
15 years. Yeah, like on social media, and I put it out there. And I remember that time when you guys broke up, or I remember like you would post things on MySpace or Facebook, and I was like, because you guys were done, and I just remember thinking, I was like, man, I don't think this is going too well. Like it wasn't like dark, but you could see that you were like bummed, and you could tell in like things you were writing.
I definitely like I was already like I said, just like holding back the depression with codependency and opiate use. And then I didn't realize it, man, but like those dudes were like my brothers, and my identity was woven into being in this band. And so when I got back home and I broke up with my girlfriend and I didn't have the band anymore, like I slid off the deep end. I was not well for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, just a progression of things getting worse and worse, and before you know it, like you're every single morning waiting in line at a methadone clinic at 6 in the morning, just to get through a day.
Damn.
Yeah, it was rough, man. It was a rough go. It took me a long time to like. I didn't even talk about Emmanuel for a long time. I was never like, and I don't see a lot of my bandmates still. I love them and I hope they're doing well. Like, I honest to God, I haven't talked to Matt Barber in probably 10 years.
Oh wow.
And it's like there's no bad blood. You know what I mean? It's like I was bummed about the way things happened until I got older, and now that I'm sober, I look back at it all like with nothing but like the happiest thoughts. Like I got to live the dream right in the best part. Like I don't have to wait till I'm retired to like get some freedom. I did it right in the fucking middle.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's like wild to grow up like you're a young kid, you're in high school, you have this dream, then you start doing it, and then you get to live that whole spectrum of what's kind of like stereotypically what the band life is, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, the big eyes getting signed and like holy shit, these giant shows and playing like I mean, you guys played arenas too, right?
yeah. That Jimmy Eat World tour was like, I remember like the first time we went on stage that night, Anthony hit the kick drum and you could hear it bounce off the back of the stadium and back to us. It was like the like the Utah Stadium or something, like convention center.
What?
Like thousands of people, man. It was crazy. And then when Jimmy Eat World went on stage, we snuck in there backstage and they had like this spread, deli trays, and all these bottles of vodka. I'm just gonna let them know if they're listening. We did take your lunch meat, and also nearly several times we would take your Sky vodka and replace it with water.
Two things there. One, if they are listening to this, I'm gonna shit my pants. Second, that's fucking amazing. You guys are like, you guys are fucking deviants, man. I love it.
Yeah, we tried our best, man. I mean, we like I said, it was always a pissing match between the four of us to see who could be the worst. I feel like, and some of us were more prone to winning, but everybody tried their best. But a couple of them came out unscathed, and a couple of us have had an interesting post band life.
Got a little beat up by it.
Yeah, took a couple bruises.
Did you? I mean, it makes sense because you said in the message you're like, I haven't really talked about this in so like Emmanuel in so long, and I got like again going back to when I was saying when I was kind of like what like all of you, like you're friends with people on Facebook and you see them just like posting things and kind of seeing the things you post. So I was like, I can understand from then until now, like shit seems like it was in a dark time, and or like you don't want to bring things up, but it's good too to like recognize that there was some really good times back then and amazing shit like
Absolutely.
that. When you guys did that and came home, was there ever like a conversation afterwards where you guys all got together and said, "Okay, we're officially doing this"? Like, how did everything like on paper? How did everything disband? Because you can play the show and then that's it, and you fly home, but then you also have to like probably sign shit or have a phone call with the label or call your manager. Like, there's a lot of other things you got to do.
It was like a lot of our manager contacting each one of us and being like, "What do we have to do to keep this going?" A few of us being like, "Oh, we don't want to," or at least like, "Let's wait a while." And then a while turned into a year, and a year to, and there's like always been talk of us doing a reunion show, but none of us, the five of us, have never been on the same page at the same time. Like two or three of us would want to do it, and the next year the other two would want to do it, but
What's the photos on your Facebook? It's like 2019. It looks like you and Brian are on stage.
yeah, so a guy in town put on a night called Louisville Loves Emo, and it was all these musicians from Louisville covering My Chemical Romance, Taking Back Sunday, and they hit me up and were like, we're going to cover some Emmanuel songs. Like, would you care to come out and sing it? And I was like, absolutely.
Oh, that's
It's
dope.
just an honor. I mean, when I look back at all of it, like, even where the things didn't turn out the way we wanted to, people fucking bought my record and people enjoyed my music. And it's a huge honor in my life to have people having cared at all. So it's weird that I'm doing this podcast now a week after I went on eBay and bought myself an Emmanuel shirt.
That's so crazy, man. I mean, I don't know. I always talk about it sometimes. I'm like, you kind of just manifest shit, or like, I don't know. Like maybe I think one of the guys like all weird and woo woo and shit, but I don't know. Maybe man, maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's
Yeah,
something's
seriously.
going
No, it's
on.
definitely, yeah, I believe in some synchronicities. And like I said, to the dudes I haven't talked to, like if they hear this, and I'm sure they probably will, holler at me. Like I'll play a show anytime. I'll do a reunion show anytime.
Well, that's really funny is that I've wanted to talk to you guys for a while, and I was like, I was like, I know this will work because it falls into the category of what I focus on. And this week, I've been so busy with work, like the last couple weeks, I like I'll let it go and I won't book anyone or I won't like reach out to anybody and ask if they want to get interviewed. And so I was like, shit, I don't. I was like, fuck, I don't have anybody. And then I was like, I'm sure something will happen this week. I was like, I know, I'm sure something will happen. And so then I started reaching out to people that I'd talked to in the past, and things started happening. And you randomly Facebook messaged me. I was like, boom, perfect, done. Let's fucking do. I was like, this is exactly the right moment. This is
That's
exactly.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it happens so
100% true.
fast. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's like yesterday I get a message. It was like, holy shit, this is perfect. Tomorrow's Wednesday is the only time I have this week to do it. Literally, I couldn't do it on Thursday or Friday. Like this is the only time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fucking wild, dude.
Yeah,
It's
it
so
is, dude. It's
crazy.
great.
So one thing that stands out to me is I went on, I was Googling you guys because I usually have like old photos up and videos and I'll have Spotify up. It's just kind of like things to reference. And I go to Vagrant's webpage. There was a link from Google to go to their webpage, and it's 404 page not found.
Yeah, so like we made Black Earth Tiger and did like one tour and broke up. Like they were not like, and the record was expensive. Like I swear it might have been like one of the most expensive indie rock records ever made. And
Oh,
so like
Jesus.
hiring Terry Day, like they were not happy with us. And I can't say I blame them, but at the same time, like things things happened that weren't our fault that led us down that path.
To break up?
Yeah, I mean, in the initial mishandling of Soundtrack to Headrush, I think it stayed with us, and then over touring, when Soundtrack had some thunder, we should have got right back in the studio and followed it up.
Yeah. I mean, did you have any songs at that time in your head that kind of just like faded away because you didn't put them down on tape?
Yeah, we were always like little writing ideas and stuff like that. Yeah,
Oh man.
so there would have been like there at least one record. I think a band should make a record like every year, ideally.
I think when a band, kind of on that note, I think when a band reunites and they record down the line, I don't think they should do full records. I think they should do two songs.
Dude, I've had this discussion with people. I think actually the future of music is doing a cup like whatever two or three songs that fit this new style.
Uh-huh.
No, all killer, no filler, man. Move on to the next project.
Yeah, I think who does this? Started listening to Wicca Phase. You know
Yeah.
this? Yeah. I mean, he does full albums, but sometimes it's like those SoundCloud kids. And I got in this whole SoundCloud rapper thing because of Tom Martin. He was this crazy dude. His name is Crazy Tom Martin. He's from Pennsylvania, and he works for a music venue. And so in his interview, he talked about, you should check out these SoundCloud rappers. It's amazing, all the Lils and all that.
Oh
And
yeah, man.
but they do that. They do like one-offs and they collaborate, and but then the next thing they do something, and it sounds so fresh and different because they're not trying to push all of that, and they're not actually no, they're trying to they push it into one song instead of spreading it out into 10 that are unnecessary.
Absolutely, dude. I think it's the future in the digital age. I think it's the only way to make music. I think it'll be what everybody does eventually.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, that's the thing, man. A single gets you hyped up because you want more, and it's just like you guys getting on stage and saying you only want 30 minutes out of 45. It's like you always have to leave people wanting more.
Absolutely. Yeah. It doesn't take long, you know. I mean, you get on stage. I've seen bands that I love, and by the time their concert's over, I've been like, "Oh God, I'm ready for this to be over."
Yeah. Like, let's wrap it up. It's like that wrap it up box in the fucking Chappelle show.
Yeah. God, man.
Did have you ever like run into anybody from Vagrant since the time you broke up until present day?
I don't think so. No, I've been out here back in Kentucky. I don't see many of those guys. I haven't talked to hardly anybody. When I fell off, bro, I fell off. Like I was in hiding.
Like, what does that mean? Like, when you go into hiding, because it's not like, I mean, people can physically just hide in their house or hide in a basement, or they just literally don't go to the same. They don't like listen to. They don't go on Spotify, or they don't listen. Like, they don't go to like YouTube. Like, they shut it off that way, but they're still there. I mean, you're still alive. You're still on this earth. Like, you're literally in Louisville. Like,
Yeah,
you're.
no, absolutely. For a long time there, man, I hung out with my drug dealer and my girlfriend of the time, and that's like all I did for a few years.
Wow, that's wild.
I
That's
worked, I worked and stuff, but it was just things did not get better for me until I started like actually, and if anyone listening is struggling with drug abuse, I mean, you can get help for it and you can get support for it, and until I was like actively doing that and met my new girlfriend who's like my forever partner, and until I got that stuff in my life, like I was just hung up on the past in a really nasty way.
did the thing that fueled it through those years until you got clean, like was that just regret from the past, like the band breaking up? But it like was it attached to that?
Yeah, that was part of it. It was that. It was like not knowing what I wanted to do with myself now, like just not being happy. I mean, but like I said at the end, I wasn't even happy doing that. It was already there. It's a chemical thing that's always been coming. I just didn't know how to put my finger on it for so long.
Did you ever, I guess there's been no bands from that time period who you've like talked to that also have gone through the same thing that you did where they like got out of it?
No,
Like got out of like being addicted or anything like that?
no, not really. Being as that same time period took place over like the super opioid crisis, I imagine that there's probably other ones, but I know it's something people are pretty private about.
I mean, I don't want to dig into it. I'm not trying to pry or
No, you're
anything.
cool.
Like
Dude. I'm like I said, man. I own everything about my life. Like I'm super happy with where I am right now.
I just think like the only thing that's coming to mind is like if you're right, if anyone there's a decent size crowd that listens to this, man. So I mean, I'm sure out of the numbers, there's someone or, it's like it's
Absolutely.
yeah. So it's like there's the potential of someone listening to this right now, and like this isn't where it was going, but it's like why not just in the next couple seconds or whatever, just like if that's possible and someone's listening to it, then it's like that's cool if we touched on that and they get something out of it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You never know who it is, man. One of the weirdest experiences I've had is nearly every time I've been up in like a rehab, there's someone that was a fan of my band. It's a strange place to meet fans, man.
That's got in the beginning. It's got to be a little bit like shit.
Yeah, dude, it all was at first. Like 6 months ago, I was on stage in London, and now I'm delivering pizzas. That was that was tough, man, because you get a lot of like, "What the fuck are you doing here, bro?" You know?
Oh man, it's gonna be brutal.
It was tough. You went from all kinds of, having everything served to you to just being a dude. You're just a dude, and that was tough for me. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I remember my buddy one time, he was down in Texas, and Chris from Mineral was like waiting tables or something. And he walked up to me like a Denny's or some shit. And my buddy was like, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing? You're Chris from Mineral. You're a god. What are you doing here?" And he was like, You're like, that probably didn't help.
No, it probably didn't help Chris. Yeah, it's an unfortunate reality, man. I mean, there are bands that never make it, and there are bands that hit a middle point. Very few become the top of the top, and there's people all along the way.
So, looking at the bands that you were touring with at the time that did take off and that are still either like they probably are still around and doing well, which I think is a very small percentage, very, very, very small percentage, or ones that stopped on their own terms and can get together here and there, like My Chemical Romance, right? Like, I'd say the last album they put out, it was like I think it was time to stop. I mean, you put out Black Parade and you try to top that, and you come out with this like weird, I don't know what the fuck that was, record. And I mean, who the fuck am I? I didn't write records like that,
No,
but
I feel you though.
like when you look at that and you see the bands that like that controlled it, like My Chem, right? Um, what would you, if everything went the way you wanted it to, and you guys like didn't get hooked on shit and like the label didn't drop the ball. I'm saying that and not saying it. You said that. I'm saying that.
Fair enough.
What would you like to tour have looked like?
Man, I would have loved to have, like I, I would have loved to have got to just tour the states more and tour with bands. I always wanted to open up for like the Smashing Pumpkins, and they made a record with Terry Date right before us. I would have loved to have done more tours with bands like that. Kind of open us up to a wider genre of music fans because I think it could have. I think we could have fit in. I think because we were like a scene band, but we were also like a rock band.
Yeah, totally.
And I think we could have opened up into that whole department a little more had we had a little time to be exposed to more audience. But
Do you think that would have happened with Black Earth Tiger if you had the right guidance, or would you think that would have happened with your next record if you wrote it the way you wanted it
yeah,
to?
I think that if we had pushed Black Earth Tiger, if we had kept going, I think we always had luck, man. We always had luck, and so I think we could have continued to be lucky. But I think the next record we probably could have kept going in a different universe and changed thing up. But it would have had to have been something new all over again. So who knows, really? We were always going to go out on a note where we were doing what we wanted to creatively. After the whole thing was over and Emanuel was done, I was at home and I was depressed and using and stuff. Brian DeNeve from Autumn to Ashes, he like was starting this pop rock band. He wanted me to be the singer, and I was still like, I still wanted to make music, and so he sent me a demo, and it was like these like pop rock songs, and I didn't really want to do it because I was really proud of the legacy that Emmanuel left, but I decided to go ahead and do it. And he flew me to New York. I got there, and Brian was amazing and sweet as hell. But the dudes he was in this band with were like stockbroker dudes, and they were like super Dave Matthews fans. It was just super weird. I was kind of like still an addict basically at the time, and so I just totally bounced on him. Like I totally pulled some shady shit and just exited. And I feel really bad about it to this day, but I just had a change of heart, man. And I just couldn't do it.
I don't think that's bad to keep out. I don't think there's anything incriminating or I don't.
You don't
Yeah.
think so?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. I mean, unless you like murdered somebody.
No. I just like straight up was like starting to get dope sick. And for like the first time ever, I didn't know how bad of an addict I was, and it was just weird. It was awkward with these stockbroker like straight dudes, and it was just I was like, you know what? I ended Emmanuel on this music Black Earth Tiger that I'm super proud of no matter what. I don't want to have some like Goo Goo Dolls band that tries and fails now. So I was like, I got to go home. I have an emergency. And I just flew home.
Yeah, man, I don't think there's anything wrong with having that be said. Obviously, there's always, in the moment, there's people getting pissed off. What I've learned through my, I'm gonna say fucking journey, my life is that if I'm still mad about shit if I'm like really mad about shit from 20 years ago or 10 years ago, like extremely crippling mad, that's fucking on me. Doesn't sound like I'm not saying that's what happened, but
No,
yeah.
I agree with you. But if you ever have Brian on, I await his version of the story.
So that's Brian from Autumn from Ashes.
Yeah, the guitar player, Brian DeNeve. Yeah.
I don't think I would have them on. There's a certain timeline where I've actually had bands. It's kind of nice. Like some bands have been like, "Hey, like listen to this. Like, can you have us on?" I was like, and I don't want to sound like sorry, man. I'm like, you guys started in like 2004, 2006. Unless like
Yeah,
I
too
really like
late.
the
I agree.
band, yeah, I'm like I gotta stay true to it. Even though there's some people that I interviewed where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna break my own rules just because I fucking want to talk to this band because they influence me. So I don't give a shit. Um,
Yeah, man.
yeah, I just never got into like there's certain bands from then I just never got into. Yeah, I think, but then there's bands from then that I'll listen to now. This is one band, it's this song called 1979, Me Without You. I mean, I wouldn't interview them, but like there's bands from then that I was like, how did I miss this? They're so fucking good. But some of the bands from then are just like, eh.
There was just so much music going on at that time. It's the last great era of explosions of garage bands across the country that'll probably ever happen, unfortunately.
There is still an underground scene happening. Is like, I mean, there's so much ability to put your stuff out there now. There's
Exactly. It'll never be that like organic word of mouth kind of thing again.
Yeah, it's like I don't know why the metaphorically I've never thought of this, but like I'm looking outside of I live in downtown in Raleigh and there's all these buildings. It's almost like if like one door was open and there's music blasting, you pay attention to like what is that? But if every window in town opened and just started blasting music, you're like I don't even know where to look.
That is a perfect metaphor. It's exactly what it's like. Yeah, there is so much today that
It's
everything is
hard.
just it's everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely fucking hard to like pick. So it's like I don't even it's hard to even find new bands because I'm like I don't really know what the hell path I would go down to even give a shit. But
Continuing to follow good music as you get like towards your 40s is a fine art.
yes, it is. Yeah,
It's you get
100%.
further and further away from like understanding the zeitgeist, and so I've done good so far, man. But I know the day is coming where I'm going to be like, I don't get the kids anymore, and that's scary.
There are some times there where the song comes on and you're like, this makes me feel the same way I used to feel when I was like 16. Like they're talking about a relationship and I'm gonna let myself just live there like I gave a shit like I did when I was 16. And it'll hit you sometimes. You're like, oh man, like
Oh
they
yeah,
took me
man.
there, dude.
Yeah, man. You guys were great at that back in the day, man. You guys were probably the first band that we ever played with that was like, we had been playing with a lot of like Ramones influenced bands and stuff like that. Old school screeching weasel pop punk kind of stuff. And you guys were like the first band that had that like New Jersey emo influence that we ever played with.
That's dope.
And it was huge for us, man. I fucking loved Lane Meyer back then, dude.
That's so
Still do.
awesome, man. That's so dope. Yeah, I mean, Chris was like, I give him all the credit, man. I mean, like, as a kid, I mean, he just was writing all the time, man. He was just like a poet and he would write and he just found hooks. And I was like, shit. So I would just try to copy him and be like, how do I beat him? Like, how do I, he was like my pinnacle of like, if he, even to this day, like, he'll still text me songs. Like, he's recording some stuff now randomly and he'll just like send it to me in a text. I'm like, God damn it, dude. You fuck. Now I gotta like, if I like gave a shit about writing songs, I would try to like beat this.
Yeah, dude, I feel you. Like I kind of write some alt country songs these days, but I tend to never record them or anything. It's just I still love music, but it's just a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, man. It's just like all you think about is even in practicing, I would be like, wait, so we gotta like set up and do this at like 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night somewhere, and
Yeah, man, I'm supposed to be at home with the girlfriend by then. Shit.
yeah, dude, 100%. Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and they were like, I was like, someone asked me to, people asked me to go out like 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, fuck that shit. Like 5 o'clock is like that's the latest I'll start. Maybe
Dude, I
six.
know, man. I know it's getting real, man.
It's gonna keep getting worse, man. I'm 42, so you're creeping up on it. Well, cool, man. Well, before I ask the last two questions, was there any like story that you wanted to tell from like back then that you're like, this would be too funny to not have recorded?
Sure. Yeah, I got one for you.
Sweet.
It really sums up like the Emmanuel debauchery kind of thing we had going. We had met this kid named Greg at a show, and he was like 17, and he lived in Southern California. And he was like, "You guys can come back and stay with me and my family." So we spent the night at his house, and he's got like this like really overbearing mother who's like really like firm. Like we're all like she like makes us sit at the dinner table with her and her family,
God.
and we eat dinner, and she's like kind of scolding the husband in front of us and like scolding Greg. We were like, "Greg, do you know where we can get some weed?" And so we had Greg take us to his buddy's house, and like they had this one of those 6 foot bongs, like these giant bongs.
Yeah.
A couple of us hit it a couple times, and like Greg, I don't think smoked or whatever. We talked Greg into smoking this thing, and Greg got super stoned, like can't function stoned, and when it was time to leave, we were all really stoned too. So we made Greg drive the van in the trailer back to his house, and he's like, "How do I do this?" Like he had no idea, and we were just laughing at him as he drove this 30-foot rig.
Oh my God.
It's stuff like that. Or another time we got stopped by one of those checkpoints in the Southwest. They're like border checkpoints, but they're like 100 miles inland. We had been possibly smoking earlier that day, and they pulled us over, and the dog signaled that they smelled something, but there wasn't anything in the car. Oh yeah, there was. One of us, I'm not gonna say who, shoved it in a KFC wrapper and put it down in our trash can.
Oh no.
They pulled us all out and they're all like, "You ever been to jail in New Mexico before? Just tell us who's got it." And we all lie. But Anthony, who's just like I said, he's just a wild man. At one point, he tries to he's like, "Here, good boy," and like tries to pet this drug dog, and the cop just goes insane on him about not petting a drug dog while it's working.
Oh my God.
And they were so mad, and they were trying to scare us, but we didn't give in, and they didn't find it, and we went on our way.
Fucking deviants, man.
Yeah, we were always up to no good, man. But that's what made it so real in the music, I think.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I felt like, especially the first album, man. It's like I felt like you could hear that you guys, it like matched what your guys' persona. The sound,
Yeah,
the visual, it encompassed all of it, I thought.
it's like Led Zeppelin would still rock with just the songs, but like knowing that they have this mysterious like bad boy image around them just makes it rock even more.
100%. It's like, yeah, if you live it, it's even cooler. I mean, obviously there's a point where you're like, okay, this is going to be detrimental to keep living like this,
Yes.
which
Yes.
shows up always. All right, so before us, last question. What would you like to plug? It could be anything about you. It could also be some love for someone else, or it could be both.
Uh, dude, I don't know. If I was gonna plug anything, man, I would just say to all the people that came out and went to shows, not even were our fans, but went to shows back then and made that culture what it was, and to our fans from around the world who supported us. It means the world to me to this day. It means the world to me, and I couldn't possibly be more grateful for all the experiences that we had.
Cool, man. All right, so last question. What scene ethics do you hold on to this day?
What scene ethics do I hold on to this day? To this day, man. I mean, I have spent ever since I got my first sickle and hammer patch as a fuck you to adults and authority as a kid. I have been a socialist, and I have been anti-racism. Super. I love making art, and super DIY, man. I love making art and getting it out there. I paint sometimes and sell paintings. I haven't in a long time, but I used to do it, and that was such a great experience back then. All the people who came together just to create stuff, be it zines or T-shirts or whatever.